Supergroup ABBA returns surprisingly with a new album after 40 years. Do they still have the stuff? Find out when Johnnie Torch reviews two new ABBA songs. Well, as you've heard, the supergroup ABBA has returned to the stage in 40 years' time to give us a new album. Voyage is the name of the new album. The band has been gone since 1981's The Visitors. Of course, the group ABBA, the name ABBA, is the initials of the band members' names, and I'm going to try to pronounce them. Excuse me if I mispronounce any of them, because of course they are living legends. Agnetha Falstog, Annafrid Langsted, Benny Andersson, and Bjorn Ulvaeus. Again, forgive me if I have mispronounced any of their names, but they are back now with a new album called Voyage, and they have released two new songs. And as someone who is an ABBA fan myself, most of us, I think, have grown up on ABBA. And there's honestly two kind of people in the world: people that love ABBA and people who are lying to themselves and say they do not. The Swedish supergroup broke up amid divorce of the four members during the early 80s. They went off on their separate ways to varying degrees of success. Frida went on, of course, to produce a pretty popular album at the time, I Know Something's Going On, a popular hit single in the top 40, produced and drummed by my man Phil Collins. She also sang one of Phil's compositions from his Face Value album. And Benny and Bjorn went on to do some concept albums. I believe, of course, the song One Night in Bangkok from Murray Head, which became a big hit in the 80s from the Chess, I suppose, was it a rock opera? And the one most low key on the scale, of course, was Agnetha, who I believe did some albums in Sweden before kind of fading from the scene. But they have returned, and there was talk that they were going to return at one point. In 2000, they reportedly turned down an offer of $1 billion for a 100-date tour. Bjorn saying that he wanted people to remember them as they were, young, exuberant, and full of energy and ambition. So that pretty much squashed any hopes that ABBA fans had that they would return in any form together. But as we've been hearing for the past year or so, I think starting in 2019, that there were plans for all original four members to reunite and produce a new album. And of course, we don't have the album yet. That will be released November 4th, I believe. Gee, I don't have the date here, but I think it's November 4th. And we have two songs released: I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down. We'll talk about them in just a second. But my first impressions before we go, into them separately, individually, I should say. I like the idea. I always like the idea of bands coming back, reuniting the original members, trying to get that old feeling again, recapture that magic. Now, was I optimistic that they were going to be able to? No. If I were to put money on it, I was going to say that this was probably not going to be the best venture. because I don't know, when they've been away for so long and nothing that they've particularly done in that time even approached the level of where ABBA was at their heyday, I kind of didn't feel it was going to happen. And it kind of makes me sad because the members of the band now are all, I'm guessing, in their 70s. A lot of time wasted where they really could have gotten together 10, 20, possibly 15 years ago. If other bands can sort of make do, of course, Fleetwood Mac comes to mind, where relationships have changed during the years in the band, and the music was still there, and they still continued to create it for many years, of course. It kind of feels like there was a lot of time wasted, but I'm going to say that I think listening to the album, listening to the two songs is a good indication that the album is going to be solid. It doesn't really seem like any time has passed. Now, my first indication that I thought, well, what were the songs going to be like? I had a feeling that it was going to be more in line with sort of Thank You for the Music, The Winner Takes It All, maybe some kind of a grand ballad that was going to just sort of evoke some kind of feelings of past ABBA. And that's kind of what the first single is, I Still Have Faith in You. It's sung by Frida in a very bombastic type ballad. And it really sort of reaches the heights of that style ABBA song from sort of the later period of the band, when they were sort of getting out of the disco era a little bit and started pushing a little more into the, sort of ballad, strong ballads and so forth. And the harmonies, of course, with the two gals, it does seem like no time has passed. The lyrics are, of course, it reminds me a lot of, Frank Sinatra doing Let Me Try Again, that kind of, they always, when they do some kind of big reunion tour or return to the stage, they usually have that one big song where they're sort of pleading to the audience, do I have it in us, like ABBA says in this song. And they pretty much answer their own question by saying, we have it in us. And it feels very triumphant. It doesn't feel like it's cloyingly sentimental, that they're trying to reach for nostalgia and gee, remember when we were on the top and we were great and this and that. It sounds very much like they are just trying to pick up the pieces and come back in a slightly different format, but pretty much as they left us. So again, that was a good song, and the video, of course, has a lot of nostalgia scenes of the original tours, the original days. And then it, of course, segues to the current day, where they are apparently going to do a concert tour where they are going to be digital avatars. And they also released some images of that as well. Try to get that up on the screen. Looking very Tron-esque. But as you can see at the end of that video, they do a pretty good job, a pretty convincing job of showing the members in their heyday and still looking, they're sort of shot in the dark, so they're not, as easily visible, which I think helps the effect. But quite honestly, they've spent some money, and it looks like it's all up there on the screen. I think the tour is going to begin in London. Let me see. Yeah, there's going to be a tour. And what they're going to do, unfortunately, my copy doesn't have a lot of information about the tour, but apparently if there are still going to be tours in the next year, which is not really a given at this point, they are going to have the 4 avatars digitally created on the stage and behaving as if it was still the 1970s ABBA. And the original members will not be there and apparently not singing live, but they will be bringing some of these new songs at least to the live experience, and of course probably many of the originals. So the second song, Don't Shut Me Down, this surprised me. This was more in line with the original 70s ABBA. It sort of starts off with a very like Fernando vibe. It's very quiet, and I'm thinking, yeah, they're going to do this again. This one's Agnetha singing lead, and I figured it was going to be just another quiet song where they kind of, again, appeal to nostalgia that they're going to come back. But it really blossoms into a very, classic pop ABBA track. It really does have that classic ABBA sound. And the lyrics, of course, are about a woman trying to rekindle an old relationship, and it feels a lot like the sequel to Knowing Me, Knowing You. A lot of the lyrics mirror what's said in Knowing Me, Knowing You. Because a lot of their particularly late 70s and maybe early 80s tracks did reflect what was going on with the band at the time with the breakups. And this reflects like the reconciliation. It really feels like the band has come full circle, and it feels like, they haven't missed a day. It doesn't feel like they really missed anything. Like I said, I think if they continue on in this manner, and I think this is where a lot of bands go wrong, especially if they're away for a long time, but they want to reinvent themselves as something different. Clearly, Benny and Bjorn, who are the creative force behind the song construction and the lyric writing, they want to get back to what made ABBA strong and what made the hits and what made them great. And they still know how to do the pop hooks and, write a compelling lyric about relationships falling and failing and getting back together. They're playing to their strengths. And I don't see why this shouldn't be on the radio now. The way radio is constructed nowadays, it's unlistenable. And a song like this, and recently Eric Clapton's new song, these are songs that should be dominating the charts. But unfortunately, because, let's face it, if you're over 40, you're completely cut out of the top 40s stations. You're not going to get pushed. But the first song, I Still Have Faith in You, I seen was trending number 23 on YouTube. Let's hope that maybe this will help them get the push they need. Maybe they'll get some airplay. Maybe we haven't seen the last of ABBA. Maybe ABBA's best days are still ahead. And that is something worth considering. All right, so if I'm to give these songs a review, it's kind of tough because, I'm not reviewing an album as a whole, a body of work. But the songs individually, I would say I Still Have Faith in You, like a B+, a strong song. It kind of evokes what they want to say. I don't know if it's as replay friendly as the second Don't Shut Me Down. I would probably give that an A. That's pretty much what they need to do if they're going to recapture that feeling, that old sound of hearing a new ABBA song, which of course I really never got to experience. I'm honestly too young to have been at the forefront of the ABBA revolution, so to speak, in the 70s. But again, two very strong songs, two strong singles. The album is out, I believe, November 4th. Again, I don't really have the copy in front of me. I tried to pull up some kind of news article, but unfortunately, I don't have that information completely right here. But check out ABBA's new singles and let me know in the comments below, are you a fan of ABBA? Did you like the new songs? And if so, why or why not? And until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.